All right, fantastic. Well, welcome to another session of the Decision Room. I'm excited today to be here with Joe Eli. He is the president and CEO of SpeedTrader. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Joe, maybe you can, tell us a bit about SpeedTrader as a starting point, and then we'll dive into a few more things from there.
Yeah, sure. SpeedTrader, we're a US-based online stockbroker. We basically provide a trading service for stocks and options, US listed as well as unlisted securities. We provide a trading platform that we sell as a service to customers in the United States and throughout the world. Basically, we're a smaller version of, say, E-Trade, where we provide the service, clients make their own investment decisions, and we help them on their way.
Great. So, obviously, you know, E-Trade is a known brand and there are other big players out there. Is there a particular niche in terms of clientele you're going after, or some specialized tools and services you provide relative to some of the bigger players?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So our business, we have three or four really big strengths that provide an advantage to use our service compared to one of the bigger firms. And people that are actively trading every single day in and out of their account find that these tools, these advantages that we provide, do help them out. The biggest thing and it's what we built our business on, is direct access. We provide traders with the ability to enter an order directly on the NYSE ARCA exchange, for example. We have others, but that's the biggest one. So a customer can enter their order and they bypass a trade desk or a middleman, if you will, and their order gets displayed directly to the world, through the NYSE ARCA and others. And people that are actively trading in and out of stocks and options every single day, a lot of them do find that to be a really big advantage. Um, the second thing that we do really, really well is we provide a very large short locate list. So a lot of the big companies don't allow you to short a lot of stocks. They have a list, and it's big. It's probably thousands. Most firms have thousands of stocks available to short. But for those hard to borrow stocks, we provide about a dozen third party locate providers, where our customers directly in our trading platform can, you know, choose the number of shares, the symbol that they want to short, and if it's not available, they can submit this request to 12 different third-party locate providers that'll come back with an answer within, a second or two. And if someone's really an active trader, they need real time and very quick information. They need to be able to get in, um, and know if they can quickly, and our service provides that.
And so, what are the you know implications of that for you as a leader of this company and setting the strategy for the company in terms of trade-offs that you make for features you do include, or those that you won't chase, or customer segments you'll go after versus ones you maybe don't focus on?
I mean, I'm not exactly sure how to answer that, but we provide the services that a lot of the bigger firms don't provide, and of course we make money off of that. We're gonna take a small fee for everything that we do,
Right.
um, but we're looking for people that have 30,000 or more to day trade. So it's a very niche market. Not everyone is interested at all in doing that. So the tools that we provide is really what those type of customers are looking for. We typically don't go out and we don't really compete with Robinhood, as an example, or
Yeah.
Webull, or those firms. We have a minimum amount that you need to fund your account with. So we're looking for people, with significant amounts of money to put into the market and actively trade.
Got it. So maybe rewinding to the earlier stages of your career and, you know, what it might take for someone who wanted to day trade back then versus today, what has been most interesting to you as your career evolved and sort of, what you can do for a day trader today versus back then?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I started in this industry in the mid 90s, 96, I think. And, back then the internet was just really starting. So, I worked for a small trading firm in North Jersey, and, we had modems to connect to the internet and, massive computers with massive monitors. So we could see real time information, and it's really quite interesting, the basics for that type of service, for the active day trading. Obviously things have progressed dramatically, but the basic tools are the same. You need a computer, an internet connection, and real-time quotes and charts, and a way to send your order electronically to the exchanges. So back then we used SOES. It was the small order execution system as our primary routing, and then other players came into the market shortly thereafter. The Island, ECN, SelectNet, and everything really evolved quite dramatically. And some of the big players in the market got involved and started buying up some of these electronic order routes. So it's really interesting how things have progressed, but really kind of stayed the same. And people, day trading is difficult, obviously. There's very high risk in it, and the
Yeah.
people that can do it successfully tend to do it for a long time.
So, yeah. So just uh, on that point, is there anything you need in terms of how you build your organization when you're serving kind of a high stress clientele like that?
Yeah, we need to hire people that have patience, because, as you can imagine, it is a high stress uh, thing to do, from both our end as well as the customer. So, a lot of times, people are emotional, which is not what you want to do when you're actively trading, but it does happen. So we need to hire people that are capable of dealing with that high stress situation, but also, capable to, be assertive and aggressive enough to explain to customers what it is that they need to do or not do. So it is interesting, and um, you need to have that patience. And the other big thing that I try to do is I try to hire people smarter than me. It doesn't always work. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes sometimes they're not smarter than me, and sometimes they're way smarter than me, and that causes a problem too. But in general, I'm looking for people that are you know have patience, can lead people in the right direction, as well as be assertive enough, to really accomplish what it is that we need to do.
What about sort of the level of trust? I know with some of those electronic networks, there were some periods where people were doing some front running or finding other ways to, take advantage of trade flows. And not saying that, your organizations participate in that, but does that sort of create an overhang where you have to build trust with clientele over time?
I mean, not for us. I mean, we don't execute orders. We just facilitate the routing. So we're not, we don't do anything with our customers' orders except for exactly what they asked. So we don't have a trade desk. We don't, trade against the order flow. Like, I mean, some of the big firms do that. I mean, they have a big business doing those type of things. And when an investor or a trader, feels that their firm isn't doesn't have their best interests in mind, they come to firms like us because we don't we don't have any way, not we wouldn't anyway, but we don't have any way
Yeah,
to actually do that.
got it. And so, going back to the roles you had with some of the different companies, Terra Nova, Lightspeed, MasterTrader, et cetera. Were there any kind of DNA links across those firms that kind of tied together your career progression?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Terra Nova Trading, we basically, when I first started at Terra Nova Trading, worked there for a couple of years, and then we opened up our own brokerage firm. We were a branch office of Terra Nova Trading, and then we opened up our own brokerage firm, basically. I don't want to say copying, but basically copying what they were doing, and we called it Master Trader. Um, and then eventually, Terra Nova Trading merged with Lightspeed. Believe it or not, they merged, and then, I don't know, 6, 7. Actually, it was longer than that. 10, 15 years later, I ended up over at Lightspeed. So it's a very small industry. A lot of these
Yeah.
firms are related. Sure, they have the same DNA, the same basic services that they offer.
And were there any particular general learnings or leadership lessons that you picked up at any of those stops that you brought in to taking on the CEO role at SpeedTrade? Oh, I think you muted yourself there. Maybe I can unmute you. Hang on.
There,
There you go.
so
Go ahead.
back. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Yeah, there are a couple of things. The biggest thing is being honest and transparent. Um, I mean, in life, in business, in everything, you should always do the right thing for the right reason. People that want to take shortcuts and do things that might not be on the up and up, it's never worth it. Always, always do the right thing, and you need to treat everyone fairly. um, you have to put yourself in their shoes sometimes, because even though, as a brokerage firm, as a CEO, as a president, you have to think about, what would you do if you were in the customer's shoes? And if you can think about that, at least you might not change what you do, but it might change how you do it, and how you say things to people. As long as you do the right thing for the right reasons, really try to be empathetic with your customers, and help them as much as you can. It comes back to you in referrals. People talk well about you online, especially with social media. How that's
Yeah.
developed since I started in 1996. There really wasn't much of anything, but now it's everywhere, and your reputation is everything.
So you mentioned, one of the things you try to do is bring in people who are smarter than you. But how do you test for people who sort of have that, do the right thing mentality, or look out for, customers' best interests first, and go from there?
A lot of times you can get a good sense of how, how honest someone is, really from first impressions. And a lot of it goes based on, my feel, and our other managers feel for the person. But one of the big things that I started doing really, really early on was giving people a test, uh, like a surprise 5-minute pop quiz during an interview, and see how they answer the questions. Whether they get the answers correct or not. Obviously that's important, but also, how they go about coming up with those answers. Simple math tests. We would give people. We would tell them to write an email to a customer. Write a 3-sentence, 5-sentence email to a customer. Um, and explain this. And it might be something that might not be the most comfortable thing to tell a customer, and see how
Yeah.
they write it. What words they choose, whether it's organized, well thought out. There's a lot of different things like that we try to do to evaluate people.
Got it. So you went into the CEO seat in an interesting time. So, did you have a playbook in mind for your first 100 days? Did you have to modify it given what was going on with the pandemic and those things? Or how did you approach that?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. Our company is very small, so it wasn't too difficult because we were all coming into the office anyway. But it was strange, that's for sure. Typically, you want everyone in the office every day, for 8, 9 plus hours. We did it in shifts, so we would split the office in two, and these people would come in these days, and these people would come in another day, because God forbid, everyone in the office got sick at the same time. I mean, that
Yeah,
would have been
right,
that would have been a disaster. So we tried to have an A team and a B team, or A and double A, or whatever you want to
right,
call it.
right, 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 right.
Just two different groups that would come into the office, or work from home, to really try to split it up. And that made, the dynamic, obviously a lot different than you would expect. You try to, you know, build a team and build camaraderie, and try to get everyone focused on the same goals, and those sort of things. And it was difficult during the pandemic, but because our company is so small, it wasn't as difficult as it would have been if, there were 50 employees or 100 employees.
And so was your focus mostly just steadying the ship, or did you have some things you wanted to, try to tackle and kind of
Oh
bring
no,
your
there
stamp
was
to?
there's a lot. I mean, there always is. There's a lot of things that you need to tackle in businesses, especially small businesses. There's always areas that you can become more efficient, in accomplishing things, but also profitability. Um, as a small company, and someone that has 20 years of experience, I was able to come in and tweak things that helped increase profitability, in a relative short period of time. Sometimes in business, and even small business especially, it just takes another set of eyes to say, well, why don't we try this, or why have we ever tried this? What if we did this? And in a small company, you can do those type of things and see results pretty quickly.
And has your approach changed at all now that you've been in the seat for a few years?
Yeah, it's definitely changed. Things have matured. With anything, there's a learning curve. After the pandemic really kind of like made things take longer than they should have. I mean, everything takes longer than I think it should take, but I think everyone. I shouldn't say I think everyone. I think everyone experiences the same type of things that I do. Everything takes longer than
Yeah.
you expect. Um, yeah, but things have definitely changed, and once a few priorities were accomplished, I'm able to focus resources on different areas. So you're not you're doing different things routinely, every month, every year. We're building something that's block by block, step by step, and improving. So some of the basic things that we had to accomplish, like one of the big faults the firm had was our onboarding process was very manual and very time consuming. um, it took, unfortunately, a year and a half, or 2 years to get the onboarding process down to something that my grandmother could do.
Yeah.
I always say, think about your grandmother, onboarding, or a 12-year-old kid. If if a 12-year-old, or your grandmother can't open an account with our firm, then what are we doing? So that was a big project, and once you accomplish those things, you can focus on other things. That onboarding obviously brings revenue into the company, but or lack of good onboarding could be a detriment. But once those type of things are accomplished, then you can focus on other things, like figuring out how to um, you know best incentivize our employees to help the company grow, or other things, other positive things.
Yeah. So I'm assuming there was an element of technology in improving that onboarding process. Could you maybe speak to just in general kind of where you see real value from technology and trading today? Are there things in risk management or compliance, customer support, other areas of the business?
Yeah, sure. So shortly after I started here, I brought on someone that I've known and worked with for years, who was, uh, he's not a programmer or anything like that, but he's very technically savvy, and he was able to help me build the tools that we needed to stay up to speed with the current market. Um, Things have changed dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, we use AI to help us do so many different things. It really is tremendous. It saves a lot of time. I mean, basically,
Yeah.
we're accomplishing the same things, but we're able to do it quicker. Um, Technology was a really big part of our risk management. Recently, I don't know if you know, or your viewers know, but recently Nasdaq started listing a lot of Asian companies, and that brought in a completely different risk profile to stock, or a different risk profile to those group of stocks that we really hadn't seen or experienced previously. And
Yeah.
you know we had to use technology and AI to help us find those companies and be able to assign a higher risk value to people trade to those companies and people that are trading them. Because obviously a small, you know, $5 or $10 million listed Nasdaq company based in China or Malaysia or whatnot is a lot different than your risk profile for
Yeah.
Ford or General Electric or Tesla, for that matter. So using technology, using AI to help us evaluate, or put these types of companies in different buckets, different risk categories, was a huge help.
And if this is sharing too much that's proprietary, um, just say so. But did you build some things that were proprietary, or is it more kind of weaving together some of the third party tools that are together in a way that fits your particular needs, or how did you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, we everything that, yeah, I shouldn't say everything, but most of the things that we do is proprietary. The risk monitoring system that we have is very specific to us as a firm, or our needs are very specific. And we built a proprietary system that looks at 5 or 6 different categories or different areas, and divides stocks up based on what their risk profile is, and what the client position is, and things like that. But yeah, we primarily are building everything from scratch, as we need it. And obviously it takes a long time, takes longer than you expect,
Right.
but I've found that what we are able to produce, and we're leveraging technology tremendously. And what we're able to produce really works well for our business.
So you mentioned AI. What has your approach to AI been in a highly regulated industry like yours?
I mean, we use it as a tool. In AI, I think the biggest thing is what you put into AI. The the value or the level of information that you put in is pretty much what you get out. If you put in bad information, or you're going to get a bad result. So we're very careful as to what we put in and what we get out, and what AI produces for us. We recognize that it's just a tool, and we still have to evaluate whether what it's producing is accurate or not. And most of the time it is. Some of the time it's not. I had a quick funny story for you. So early on, when we started using AI, we started using it to investigate the backgrounds of our customers. Like Bob Smith from Idaho.
Yeah.
We put in his we're looking to do a background check, and AI started making things up. It it would find an article based on someone else in Idaho and said that it was Bob Smith that did those things.
Yeah.
And the first couple that went through, I think we might have missed like one or two, and we really thought that the person that we were looking at, they actually robbed a bank, as an example. And you go in and you read
Yeah.
the article and you're like, well, this doesn't make sense. This
Right.
article is not about Bob Smith. It's about Brian Jones or whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
it
Right.
was
Right.
kind of funny because all of a sudden I'm like, wow, our background checks are getting some big hits. And
Yeah.
it was a strange period because we had to reteach AI what was a positive result.
Sure.
Basically the real information is a positive
Yep.
result as opposed to AI making something up.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know we've found some prompts to bury into some of the AI we use that tries to steer it away from hallucinating and basically
Right.
saying if you can't 100% confirm this, then say so. Um,
Exactly.
so so yeah. So any advice you'd give to someone who might want to step into a trading career today versus 1996 when you started?
I don't think things have changed too much. I think starting small and only risking money that you can lose is are two really big pieces of advice for anyone. There's a huge learning curve. Not everyone is going to be successful, but those that are can be highly successful and do it for a long time. But really just start small and only risk what it is that you could potentially lose, or afford to lose, I should say.
Is there one lesson you learned from your 25 years in the industry that's most improved your judgment?
Hmm, that's a good question. It's yeah. I mean, it just I don't know if I really have a good answer for you, but being patient and not um, having a knee jerk reaction. Yeah, you can have a knee jerk reaction, but you need to sometimes take a step back and think about it. Be patient. Make sure that you're correct. That would be my biggest thing.
And last question here. So if SpeedTrader succeeds in your vision over the next 5 years, what how will the company have evolved and what will your customers and employees say about the firm?
Well, I mean, we're still a really small company, so there's a lot of room left for growth. We primarily, believe it or not, offer the same product and services that we did 20 years ago. So SpeedTrader was founded in 1999. It's 2025. We're 26 years later, and we're pretty much still doing the same thing that the company was doing in 1999 or 2000. So the biggest thing that is going to change is the company is going to grow and offer a more varied group of products and services. Um, and I think one of the best things about our firm is people come to us. They try day trading. They might do it for a year or two, and then they stop. they all come back, and that's really the best feeling when someone stopped using your business, your service, and then came back a year or two later because they had such a good experience and they want to try to do it again. And um, I think that'll be the thing that we're employees are the most proud of.
That's great. Well, Joe Eli, President and CEO of SpeedTrader. Anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
No, I think that's it. I really appreciate the time today, and look forward to hopefully speaking with you again.
All right, Joe. Well, thanks again for